Hello, welcome on in onto our Let's Play of Diluvian Wins, the Prologue. So right now this is still completely free for you on Steam. I do highly recommend giving it a go. It is one of the most relaxing and chill games I think I have ever played. I can say that with absolute certainty. So basically the idea of this game is the world has sort of ended. People are existing separately from each other and traveling around trying to rebuild society. And you're a lighthouse keeper in charge of kind of keeping this lighthouse alive and keeping a good post for people to be able to come and visit, get some food, look after themselves, and then they move on when they've kind of achieved their little goal of being a visitor in your camp. So you'll see in the top left hand corner there's like a score out of 25, and what you're trying to do is make people happy, and when they achieve their life goal they get a mission point for you, and then you want to get 25 mission points in this prologue, and that causes a game victory. So I have played this game before. I played it with the tutorial turned on. You can see those videos if you just click the little link that's just popped up in the top corner. We did fail and we let the fire go out. So one of the most important criteria of the entire game is that the lighthouse has a little fire burning, and you have to make sure that every single night you have enough wood to fuel that fire and keep the fire burning so that people out in the distance can see your community, will travel to your community, and therefore will keep your community going. There's also lots of other elements to this game that we're going to get into, but basically that is the main idea and focus that you've got to work on. So you're trying to make people happy, so they give you the stars, but also never let the fire go out. And as I say, my first run through of this, I got quite far, but I did fail and I did not manage my wood well, and the world died. One of the fun things about this game is that every single day you have like a list of objectives or goals that you're kind of trying to work towards. You're also trying to get the little caravan here to arrive, but also to, like I said, make your people happy. The day is split up into chunks of time, and you have to progress through them by hitting that play button when it's green, because that means you've done your jobs for that time slot. The first thing you get to do every day is decide what people are going to do. So we here are building a woodcutter. As I said, wood is very important for keeping the fire burning, and then also because everyone needs food and you do give them an evening meal every day, we need to make sure that somebody somewhere is working on getting us some food. So here I set them to work in the greenhouse because that's going to make us some vegetables. As you can see, when you click on each thing, it tells you how much you're going to produce and in what kind of qualities, and whether the person you're setting on the job is a good idea. Then you hit play and that work is immediately done, and as you can see I fulfilled someone's request there. That got us a star, so that got us a mission point on the journey, and we now have some vegetables so we can feed them, which makes them happy. And then once they've had their evening meal, again you hit the green button and you move through into the next day, after of course making sure your fire is happy. You can see there by putting the fuel in the fire, I got the little cart at the bottom to actually hit the day, and it's now able to progress. We wake up on day 3 and we can see when he looks out in the distance that the caravan has arrived. Now what this does mean is that anyone at this point who's completed a mission will be eligible to leave, and they get on it. And we don't really say goodbye to them, I'm going to be honest. I've said this before, but I feel like we just kick them off. We're like, dude, we're done with you, you can leave. But then you get to select your next people who are going to arrive, and they all have their own missions, and it's kind of strategic that you've got to make sure you choose the right people for the right missions, for the right jobs, and then put them in the right place. Once they're all here and you've swapped over, you can move into the job aligning section of the day. And again, this is a choice. So some of these people bought new building types with them, which is pretty cool. Obviously we need wood, I've discussed this a lot, but you can see at the top there they have blueprints for fish, they have housing, and they also have a storehouse. So it's important that you do get these buildings sort of built early on in their stay so that they can start using them. So I choose here to build a fish and a worm terrarium, an insectarium, I don't know, but I choose to make the sacrifice here. So we are making wood, so I felt like it was a good time to use 2 buildings. Obviously it means that no one produced food during this day, which is a little bit scary, but I do think it works out for the better. So it's a poor meal, nobody's really very happy about it, but they did get fed, and also it means we've got these 2 new buildings tomorrow that can start to create the food. And once again we do check on the fire. Now one thing you will notice is you will see the caravan move every time you add the wood, so it's something to keep an eye on, because sometimes adding more wood does not really move the caravan along. We're already into day 4. You can see from the weather it's quite windy and wet out there, and the weather does actually affect how well some of the buildings work, so it is important to keep an eye on the weather and also to pay attention to the buffs that each kind of job gives you. So here we go down to find our people. They're all down there. They've just woken up from their tents, and we need to decide what everyone's going to do. Now, as you can tell, pretty much every day I'm putting people in that woodcutter, because obviously I've learnt my lesson from my first playthrough where I got all scared and we landed in trouble. But also here I put someone in to produce some fish because that is something they want to do, and then this person here also wants to produce fish. But I feel like because there's already one person in the fish, I just put them in for the wood maker. I'm like, we can have fish as our food and we can just get ourselves some wood. Now, once this happens, we oversell the wood. Like, look at that. Look how much wood they connected. Now, one thing I will know, if you don't use that wood on that day, you lose it. So it's really important, if you're going to over make wood, that you can put that straight into the fire, because a couple of days when I've been playing this, I do end up losing the wood, and it's actually quite frustrating when that happens, because you feel like you've wasted something. Here as well, you learn that different combinations of food get you different meals, and each one of those makes a different morale boost. So sometimes it makes them happy, sometimes it doesn't. Here we managed to fill up the wood and get the caravan to arrive tomorrow, and we get one of our little quest missions. So with these question marks pop up every once in a while, and it gives you like a dilemma and you have to make a choice. Now, sometimes you get a bonus like this where we got some insects, but also that person's morale isn't going to be good. So it's something to bear in mind, because you don't want really unhappy citizens because they don't work as well, and if you get really happy people, they work a lot better. So that was just looking out and saying the weather was bad, but thankfully not a storm. We didn't get any major building damage, and we are able to keep an eye out for that caravan that we know is arriving. And we know that one of our people, in fact, no, I don't think any of our people at this point have fulfilled their mission, because we got those caravans really close together. So we haven't actually managed to make any of our citizens happy, and that actually means that we don't have any room. So you'll see up on the right, it tells you inbound travelers, how many you can have, and we couldn't have any. So we can just say goodbye to it. So that was a real waste that we hadn't managed to do that. So maybe that's a lesson learned, that what you can do is put less wood in the fire, and that would have meant the caravan didn't arrive on time. And I think it was a really important thing that I started to learn at this point, that the keenness, or what you want to do is like just fill that fire right up to the top, but realistically you don't actually need to do that. You can just take your time with it, and you can just, you know, survive, I guess is the best thing. So here we're just waiting for the next section of the day to start, and we move on. So we've got people wanting to fish. We've got little, I never remember their names, but this person wanted to produce 30 fish, so I've put them in the fisher. This person just wants to work with somebody else, so the only place you can work is either in the woodcutter or the garden. So I choose to put them in the garden because I know we're running out of vegetables, and also because I feel like we've actually got quite a lot of wood at the moment, so I felt safe in doing that. So when we progress through now, we get quite a lot of vegetables, and we also fulfilled Otis's requirements, so Otis gets a happy green tick. Obviously he can't leave until we get another caravan, so now we've just got a happy citizen on our hands, which is pretty cool. And these guys move through to eat, and again we get a whole new recipe, and the people are really happy, and we progress through once again. You'll see as well in the bottom right, when you're kind of in that zone of day, it does tell you the weather, and it tells you it now, so we know that it's going to start getting very rainy soon, but there's no storm on the horizon. It's not giving us a danger warning. Once we kind of get to this point, it becomes very, I want to say repetitive, but in a good way. I don't know if that makes any sense, but it's a really smooth pattern that you kind of get used to. Like, there's little bits of tenseness, like, oh, is this going to be the right decision to make? And then also when you're assigning people jobs, it's like, do I have enough food? Do I have enough of this? Should I be building a new building? But in general, it's quite relaxing as you progress through the days. You can also see here that actually we've got a storm weather warning coming. You see the little exclamation mark and the lightning, and that means that we need to really start thinking about some of our buildings as well, and we should probably be doing what's called reinforcing. I don't think I'd do it here. I think I actually put everyone to work because I was conscious I hadn't made any wood the day before. But as you can see, we hit another person's happiness level because they produced the fish, and then we got to eat another meal, which seemed to make everyone quite happy, and then we moved through. Now what I have done here is I've sped the gameplay up. You're going to notice that straight away, and that is just because, like I said, these games become very repetitive, but also it's really not in a bad way, and I don't know how to describe it properly, but I had so much fun playing this game. I went to some kind of chill zone in my head where I just was so relaxed. You get to pick here some new people to come because we actually completed everyone's wishes. We actually were able to pick up 4 new citizens who moved on in, which was quite good, and the 3 that had completed their goals, 1 who hadn't, sadly, they all left us. These people all plop around, and now one of them actually has a house to move into because we built some housing this time. There again, we've got the 4 people waiting on their jobs for the day, and I kind of get everyone assigned out and put into places. So we put some people in the woodcutters. This person wants to produce fish, so we put them in the fish, and this person just wants to be happy. So what I actually do here is I put these people on reinforcements because it says that I can actually reinforce a building, and what happens in the storm is there's a giant tidal wave that comes along and it kind of wipes everyone out. And I wanted to avoid that. So I put people on reinforcing, and that makes our building stronger. We fulfilled 2 people's wishes in one day, which I thought was really good going. And then we were able to keep the fire burning as well. And like I said, the reason I've sped it up is because, as you can see, we kind of get into this really easy going pattern where everything moves through. So you move through the day. Is the caravan here? No. Okay, what's everyone gonna do today? Now, one thing I do realize pretty quickly is I could have put more buildings down. I look at it now and I'm like, I definitely could have done more with my space, but there I'm reinforcing the woodcutters, so I'm choosing not to make any wood, which is a bold move because obviously we need the wood. We need the wood, but it has enabled us to kind of make that woodcutter stronger, so it does mean when the storm does come, hopefully my woodcutter is still going to be standing after that. The people all come down and have their meal of the evening, and we get something different. So this is ratatouille, which I think is quite cool. I like the fact that you can get different recipes by balancing out the different food groups. I think it's quite interesting. But here we get our first storm. So we have no wood to put in, so that means the caravan is not going to arrive tomorrow. But what we are going to get is a storm. So you see when he looks out, he looks across the water, and suddenly is like, oh no, this is a problem, guys. There's something out there that I don't like. And what you are going to see in a second is he blows his little horn, and that's to tell all the people that are living down in the tents that it's not safe down there and you need to get yourself into the shelter. So you will see he waves his horn, and then everybody kind of runs and tries to jump in, and they all come inside the lighthouse where they're safe. Now, one question I have is, if he has room in the lighthouse to house them all the time, why isn't he just doing that? Because it feels really mean that he doesn't. Like, is it just me? Because I think it's really mean that they just don't all get to live inside the lighthouse all the time. But hey, let's not judge. So here we get a tidal wave, and you see that like it damages the buildings a little bit. It tends to ignore the ones on the top, which is pretty good. And you wake up the next day to kind of the level of damage that you've had to deal with. So we're on to day 9 now, which I think is pretty good going. Our caravan isn't here because we chose to reinforce our buildings rather than make some wood yesterday. So we have got the same people, and we know that we've actually fulfilled most of their wishes at this point. So we're actually pretty chill, but we also know that we probably need to have a look at how badly damaged some of our buildings are. So if you put them to work and the symbol's still there, it does mean that you can put your staff working in that area. So obviously it was really important to me that we got some wood going, just because we hadn't made it the previous day and we knew that we did need to replenish our fire. So I chose some citizens to work there in the woodcutter, and it shows that we're going to get some wood from it, which is good. And you can see, if you paid attention there, it gave you a buff for your previous meal. Now the other thing you can do is you can kind of sweep up the debris of the storm, because these buildings are useless to us. They no longer have a function, so it's important that we put our people into sweeping that, and that again gets us even more wood, which is good because that's how we're going to build new buildings, but also again how we're going to keep that fire burning, especially since the night before we actually had kind of abandoned the fire and we hadn't allowed it to be replenished. So food-wise, they don't get a lot tonight. They're not quite as happy with the meal that they get, and we are still only at 6 out of 25 stars, but I do think we're doing a lot better than last time because our wood management seems to be better, and we've managed to keep the woodcutter through the storm, which I think is doing a lot better. So we get the caravan to stop by just putting a little bit of wood in that fire and making it happy, and then we find out that somebody has failed a request. So when they fail, because they're all timed, so they have to do it within 3 days or 2 days, when they fail, they just leave disappointed and sad, basically. That's all that happens. It's not the end of the world, but obviously it's a missed out opportunity to get those victory points, and those victory points are really important for the game. So it is kind of annoying when it happens, but it's also not really a big loss, if that makes sense. So you don't really get a negative debuff just because someone leaves unhappy, or not that I've noticed. Maybe you do, or maybe you will in the actual game, but it didn't seem to really affect me in the prologue. So we have picked up 2 new citizens here, and this is where the game kind of just steadies away. So once again, I've just sped it back up for you, so just be mindful if you're playing this game yourself, it's going to be at a much more relaxed pace. This is roughly 2 times pace, just to show you kind of how systematic and how easy it goes. But yeah, we clear up the debris from the storm, we try and rebuild those buildings that we've lost, we get some people making some food, we make sure we've got enough supplies, and then we feed our citizens. I honestly cannot tell you how like chilled this game is. You get into such a rhythm. It must be something to do with like the segmented days where you make your decisions, you press the button, you move on, you do the thing, but you just honestly go to such a happy place that I cannot explain it to you. Once again, we get these little choices, and then the game just kind of progresses from here, and we move through, like I said, quite an easy pace. So we're making food every time, we're making some vegetables, we're making sure our people keep an eye on the wood, and we're also trying to fulfill all of their wishes while doing that. And then they sit down for another lovely nightly meal, and we get to make our choices. Everyone seems quite happy with that. Somebody just wanted fish for dinner, which we've managed to make them happy. And that's pretty much how the game progresses. Like I said, I find it a really chill game, and I have jumped a little bit of time for you here. So we are now sitting on day 22, and we have done quite a little bit. So we're saying goodbye to some people here, people that you never met, I apologize, and we're picking up some new citizens, but this is where we've got to. So we haven't really had another storm in this time, but we did have some windy weather, which did affect things, and we also had some very sunny weather, which was actually quite nice. But basically, we've just been doing the same thing. Like I said, the kind of beauty of this game is in its simplicity. We found there was a little underground thing, by the way. Did you see that there? Like, I didn't know where that came from. But as you can see, our little world's progressed quite a lot. We have quite a few people. We're still getting the quests up, but we've now got 2 houses. We've got a storeroom. We've got a fish. We've got the insect place back, and we've actually got quite a few citizens now. So with these new arrivals, we're trying to decide what we can do. One of them really wanted us to build this area, so we get that built underway. And then we also, just to kind of putting people to work, as we've been doing the whole way through the game. And it is just, I'll be honest, I just cannot recommend this game enough. It's just really fun to play. I know I sound like I'm sponsored, and I promise you I'm not, okay? This game is completely free on Steam. I have no association with the people who make it, but if you're watching this and you think it looks relaxing, please go play it, because it just does something to your brain. That sounds weird, but it just gives you some kind of relaxation that I've never really found in another game. And I honestly really, really enjoyed. We've made it to day 23. Someone is unhappy. Our caravan's still quite a while away, but as you can see, if you're paying attention in the top left-hand corner, we're 19 out of 25 mission points at this point. So actually, we're quite close to being able to succeed because we've had quite a lot of happy people. We've also, because of the storehouse, can now actually hold more wood and more metal and more fish. And I've also started to get a bit savvier about who I'm putting in all the buildings. So you'll see as I select people, I'm hovering over the building and seeing how much they're going to be able to produce of it to see whether I think it's a good idea to put them in it. So you see that person could produce 25 because they had various buffs on. And it's really kind of a people management strategy sim in that sense. But also I like to have fun creating new recipes almost every night. Sometimes they're happy, sometimes they're not. And also just pumping it up. Now this is where I'd stopped over lighting my fire as well. I just kind of kept the fire going at all times because I felt like I didn't need the caravan coming in every other day, because I wanted to give people time to complete their missions, and also because I was quite happy with the 5 people I had, and I kind of didn't want the game to cheat me out of that. Once again, we're just trying to make everyone happy. So you can see that someone wanted us to build a fireplace, which obviously we'd built, and then this person just wants to be happy. So what I do is I give them a day on break in the fireplace, so they just get to sit all day chilling out. I also put someone else in the insect place, which made them really happy, and then again we give them a good meal tonight, which they seemed really happy with, and someone else becomes happy. So it's quite easy once you get into the game to kind of make people happy by giving them better food, and also just by, generally speaking, taking care of them in all their needs. This one's another one. Obviously, we already know that our citizens are happy that needed to be, so we can kind of just send them on their merry little way. and off into gathering insects for us. And now we know that the caravan is very close to approaching, but it's not quite here. So we're playing through day 25. We don't really have any storms approaching, so we've not got too much to worry about. And again, it's just kind of making sure all the resources are full, but also just trying to make everyone happy. So what do you need to do? What do you need to do? And just keeping an eye on those needs. So most of the people have actually met their requirements and become happy and done the things that they needed to do at this point. So there's very few things left that I kind of need to put people on. So I just kind of assign the jobs that I feel need doing. But as you can see here, we fill up everything that we need filling up, and everyone just kind of chills out down by the fire at night and gets themselves a meal. Again, I have a little experiment and give them something, and everyone seems quite happy with it, which I think is really nice. We progress through here and we keep the fire burning, and we send everyone off on their way, and we should be picking up a caravan, I do believe. I do believe we get a caravan at this point, and we get some new people in, because at this point everyone's kind of fulfilled their quests, so we're not going to be able to get any mission points in. And that's one thing I did learn, is it's really important that you kind of make sure you keep the caravan at the right distance. So when I first started playing this game, my sole goal every time was burn all the wood, get the caravan as close as you can, switch the people out as quickly as possible. And I learned pretty quickly that actually isn't that productive in this game, and what you actually want to do is manage the caravan. So try and make sure you meet everyone's needs before the caravan gets there, get them all picked up when they've completed the mission so you got maximum stars, and then get new people in. And then when you get those people in, try and get people that kind of work together. So if one person wants to work with someone, find another person who wants to work with someone, because then you can put 2 people in your building and you've got 2 happy missions completed straight away. People like that just want fish for dinner, easy win on the mission points. We're at 23 out of 25 at this point, so it should be relatively easy. Some people want different things this time. They want to produce 30 fish, but we've already got someone, I think, in the fish place. Oh no, wait, no, we do put them in. But again, I was checking the buffs here at this point. So they want insects for dinner, so maybe you should make some insects. We don't have enough wood to build any of their structures, so at this point we can't do that, but we do send them off to make things. But as you can see, they didn't really make a lot of insects because it isn't somewhere they were kind of specifically meant to go. We put them in the vegetables. Again, their vegetable turnaround wasn't great because that's not really the room they're meant to be in, but sometimes you just got to put people where they need to go. Now, one thing you will have noticed is some people wanted fish for dinner, some people wanted insects for dinner, so we give a nice varied dinner plate. And again, it's something we've done quite a few times, and we've fulfilled quite a few little quests there. And if you can see in the top corner, we hit our mission stars. So I kept the fire burning long enough to complete the 25-star mission of the prologue, and that means that we get victory, which is very cool. Honestly, please go try this game. I love it. Hope to see you next time. Bye!